Hi everyone, my name is Aparna and I'm going to be talking to all of you about eating disorders and the importance of understanding them as a teenager. Eating disorders are extremely common in high school age children, and we need to bring more awareness to them in order to help those suffering from one. I'm aware that this topic can become uncomfortable and triggering for some people, and that is completely understandable. If you do not feel comfortable watching and interacting with this presentation or dealing with the topics that will be covered today, feel free to let us and your teachers know, and you can spend this class period elsewhere. For those of you who are unsure, I will not be going into too much detail in any aspects of eating disorders, but please make whichever choice is best for you. There are a few different types of eating disorders, and they can affect people of all different demographics. No matter your gender, sex, age, or nationality, you are susceptible to this issue. But EDs are most prevalent in teenagers and are normally more common in girls. About 30 million Americans and 70 million people worldwide suffer from an ED. If you are going through one right now, you are not alone. There are so many of us out there who care about your health and would love to help you heal. An ED may seem like simple dieting or weight loss tactics, but they can rapidly become detrimental to both your mental and physical health, being the most dangerous psychiatric illness worldwide. It is so important that you reach out to someone you can trust if you suspect you have an ED or that someone you know has one. The most common types of eating disorders in high schoolers are anorexia and bulimia, but there are other prevalent food issues as well, including binge eating disorder, ARFID or ARFID, and OFSED or OFSED. Anorexia nervosa is weight loss due to excessive dieting and starvation, while bulimia nervosa typically involves binge eating and purging to lose weight. Binge eating disorder is the consumption of large amounts of food at a time. ARFID, or avoidant/restrictive food intake disorder, is characterized by highly selective eating habits and a mental inability to eat many foods. Finally, offset is a class of disordered eating that is characterized by maladaptive thoughts and behaviors related to eating, food, and body image, and covers issues with food outside of the four previously listed. There are many, many symptoms of an eating disorder, and often multiple will appear in one person and gain severity over time. Some are listed here, such as malnutrition, weight loss, cold extremities, as in the toes and fingers, hair loss, dry skin, loss of the menstrual cycle, inability to produce certain hormones, depression, anxiety, low moods, inability to concentrate, a lack of interest in usual activities, gastrointestinal symptoms like stomach pain, constipation, etc., exhaustion, denial of the severity of one's symptoms, and withdrawal from friends and family. Simply watching for these signs in your friends, classmates, and family members will be a major effort in helping others to get help for their issue. Because if you do notice multiple of the symptoms building up in a person over time, you can reach out and work with them to take the first step towards healing. Some important resources who have experience with and education on eating disorders in adolescents are dietitians, pediatricians, and psychologists. These professionals are often some of the best people to talk to when discussing problems like this one. Here's a video interview with a dietitian named Dr. Stegman, who specializes in eating disorders.
Hi, my name is Amanda Stegman, and I am a dietitian who specializes in eating disorders. I was asked to be part of this project to help support you guys and give you a couple of resources and tips and techniques to try in case this is something that you're going through. And if you are, don't worry, you will get through it. But 28 million people are bound to experience an eating disorder at some point in their life. So it comes in various forms. Anorexia nervosa usually has a preoccupation with gaining weight. You're terrified of gaining weight. You're obsessed with calories. And usually there's a lot of foods that you're very, very restrictive about and you're very scared to eat. So if this is something that's happening to you, one technique you could try is writing down a list of all the foods that you feel comfortable with that don't elicit anxiety or fear. So if I were to present you with a chocolate cake, lots of icing, very delicious, and then a side of steamed broccoli and ask you to choose which one doesn't cause as much anxiety, the anorexia, you're probably going to choose the broccoli. So that's what I suggest, is making a long list of all the things, go through the categories: proteins, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and dairy, of what you don't feel so nervous about eating. And once you have that list written down, put it on the fridge. And these are baby steps, but give yourself permission to eat the foods on that list and just work on one food at a time. You don't have to rush into eating pizza or a cheeseburger. You can take baby steps and start with maybe some carrots or an apple here and there. And then maybe you can progress to adding a little nut butter. Additionally, what happens after restricting your calories for such a long time is you kind of lose the ability to feel hunger. Like the physical sensation goes away. And this is something you can do in the privacy of your own home or a classroom when no one's looking, to learn to identify body cues a little bit better. So feel your feet on the floor, feel your toes wiggling, do a body scan, check your knees, then decide, do I have to go to the bathroom or not? And if not, all right, let's move up. Do you have a headache? Do you have any itches anywhere? How's your mouth? Are you thirsty? Do you need a drink of water? All right, and once you check in with those, finally do a check in with your stomach. How does it feel? Is it empty? Do you feel hungry? And you can sort of give it a number on a scale of 1 to 10. How hungry are you? And then you use that number to decide how much to eat. You could also, at night before you go to bed, when it's super quiet, just take your pulse in a different spot of your body for 60 seconds at a time. So start learning to identify your heartbeat in different places, and that way you can work up to the ability to be able to feel hunger again. If you are someone suffering with bulimia, which involves periods of fasting and then binging on a large amount of food and then making yourself throw it up, it's very easy to get overwhelmed in the binging moment of just wanting to eat everything and feeling guilty later. So one small step you can do on your own in your own home: take a minute when you feel that impulse where you know you're just going to eat a lot of food. Ask yourself three things you three things you see. All right, look around the room. Three things you see. Answer that question. Three things you physically feel. So, like, I feel my t-shirt on my shoulders. I feel my feet on the ground. I feel my butt in my seat. And then three things you hear. Right now, I have a lot of peace and quiet. I can hear a sound machine, sound of my own voice, and an arrow garden. And the point is, you start with a really an easy sense, sight's very easy, and progress to a more difficult one. And it just gives you this 30-second window to stop and pause to break up that binge. So it may not keep you from binging, but let's say you used to binge on an entire bag of potato chips. And when you do that, you might binge on 75% of the bag. That is success. So I just want you to know you are not alone. You have help out there. Now you have some things you can try. And just remember, success is not universal. It doesn't mean being totally cured. It just means small steps to getting better. That is success. And I want you to hold on to that. All right, so thank you so much for watching this, and good luck.
If you would like to learn more or get help from an experienced source, you can definitely reach out to available mental health professionals and doctors. Moreover, I would like to thank Dr. Stegman for her participation in this video and for her extremely helpful tips. Once you have noticed someone repeatedly displaying signs of an eating disorder, it is vital that you reach out to them to make sure that they are okay. Because if they are not, they must get the help that they need. People with eating disorders are normally quite good at hiding it, so it may even become severe before anyone notices that there is something wrong. Therefore, try to be as alert as possible. If you do begin to see symptoms in someone, do not be afraid to be honest with them. The best thing to do is to simply ask the question in a kind and caring manner. Instead of saying, "Do you have an eating disorder?" ask something like, "I've noticed that you've been offering your lunch to your friends every day lately, and it seems like you have trouble eating it. Is everything okay?" Recognition is the first step towards getting help. You might be worried that you are wrong about the symptoms, that you will say the wrong thing, or that you will alienate the person. But the most important thing is that they get help, so do not let these concerns stop you from speaking up. When you are talking to someone with an eating disorder, make sure that you take the correct steps to avoid extra stress and negativity. Firstly, pick a good time and place. Make sure it's private with no distractions and no constraints. And it should be in an area generally without food and a location that they feel comfortable and safe. Secondly, explain why you're concerned. Avoid lecturing and criticizing as they will become defensive. Try to refer to specific situations and behaviors that you've noticed and explain your worries. Don't try to offer solutions. Rather, just express your concerns about their health and show how much you care for them and that you desire to help. Thirdly, be prepared for denial and resistance. It is likely that they will deny their problem and become defensive and maybe angry. Try to remain calm, focused, and respectful, and remember that this conversation may seem threatening to them, so don't take their reaction personally. Fourth, ask if the person had reasons for wanting to change and seek help. They may not want to get better for themselves, but they still may want to change to please someone they love, to return to school or work, or more. It only matters that they are willing to seek help. Lastly, be patient and supportive. Don't give up if they shut you down at first and refuse to admit to their problem, as it may take them a while to open up. Try to open up some lines of communication between you two. When they are ready to talk about certain things, listen to them respectfully and without judgment. But don't take on the role of a therapist or dominate the conversation, as you do not need to have all the answers. It is more important to listen and give them a space to talk. Just show that you believe in them and that you are there for them. Overall, try to encourage them to explain how they feel so you truly understand. Give them time to talk rather than rushing them, and encourage them to seek help and explain that you will be there for them through every step of the way. There are a few things that you should try to avoid during the conversation. Firstly, try to avoid placing ultimatums. You can't force someone into treatment. The decision must come from them. Ultimatums can lead to more pressure, more secrets, and denial. Second, don't comment on their appearance or weight. People with eating disorders are already too focused on the appearance of their bodies, so making any comment on it plays into that obsession. Instead, steer the conversation towards their feelings on their body. Third, avoid shaming and blaming. Avoid accusatory you statements like, you just need to eat more. Instead, use I statements, such as, I'm scared when I hear you throwing up. Next, avoid giving simple solutions. Don't say things like, all you need to do is learn to accept yourself. Eating disorders are extremely complex. If it was that easy, then they would not be suffering. Next, don't use manipulative statements, such as, think about what you are doing to your family. This can worsen the problem and make them more unwilling to admit to it. Lastly, avoid using threatening statements, such as, if you don't eat right, I will punish you. This is harmful to their emotions and behavior, and it can greatly worsen the problem. The best thing to do is to urge them to see a doctor, who can then provide an accurate diagnosis and sources of treatment. There are a few different treatment options one can take. Firstly, there is day treatment. This is an intensive type of care, and it has a therapeutic component. It involves going to the center and spending most of your day there, and you get to go home at night, so it's not round the clock. Next, there is residential treatment. This is very intensive, and it entails leaving your home and living in a facility for a few months. There is intense psychiatric and medical support. Third, there is inpatient care. This involves hospitalization if you are medically unstable. There is round the clock care, and it's necessary for those facing medical issues as a result of their eating disorder, such as depression or malnutrition. Lastly, there's outpatient care. This involves going to a medical clinic or doctor, therapist, or dietitian. There is a multidisciplinary approach with multiple people approaching from different angles, such as physical, mental, and psychological. It also involves family based treatment, in which one's parents and family help shape food choices and normalize eating. It is important to support a friend in the process of their recovery from an eating disorder. Firstly, just be their friend. Be there for them and make sure that they know that you are by their side. Don't let them withdraw from their friends and family. Second, let them take the lead in their recovery. Don't act like the food police and constantly monitor their eating. because attempting to force them to eat can lead to conflict, bad feelings, and lying. Third, listen without judgment. Show that you care by asking about their feelings and concerns and truly listen to what they say. You want to validate their feelings and let them know that they are being heard. Next, set a positive example. Try to eat nutritious, balanced meals when you are around them and in general. Avoid self critical remarks, negative comments about others' appearances, dieting, and more. And instead, focus on the inner qualities that make a person beautiful. Also, be mindful of triggers. Avoid discussions about food, weight, eating, or making negative comments about one's own body. Don't be afraid to eat normally in front of someone with an eating disorder. It helps to display a healthy relationship with food. Lastly, try to spend time together. Isolation can definitely be a trigger, so encourage them to engage in social activities and eat with them to show healthy eating habits. I interviewed a friend of mine who has recovered from an eating disorder on their experience. They would like to stay anonymous, so I have the questions here for you all to see, and I will be sharing my friend's answers to them. Firstly, what eating disorder did you have? Their answer was anorexia nervosa. How did it begin? Social media gave me an idea of what a body should look like, and I felt uncomfortable with my own physical appearance. So I decided to start trying to lose weight, and it quickly developed into an eating disorder. How were you first able to tell someone what was going on? My friends noticed that I was not eating properly and figured it out within a couple of months. And I told my mom because she also noticed a change in my habits after a few months, so I could not hide it anymore. What did recovery look like for you? It involved my parents encouraging me to eat and talking to my school counselor. I also received a lot of support from my friends. It took me about 3 years to fully recover, but now I'm doing so much better, and I am so glad that I had the support of so many people in this process. What aspects of your life were most important in your recovery? What did your support system look like? My close friends and my parents were so important for me getting better, and they were a huge part of my support system. Also, doing a sport honestly helped a lot because being that active meant that I had to eat well to gain muscle. Finally, sports and extracurriculars helped to distract me from my eating disorder and they put me in a good mood. What is some advice that you would give to someone else with an eating disorder? Recovery is scary, but it feels so much better and you will be so much happier. Also, talk to people you trust. Don't bottle up your feelings. One really important thing for me was taking the recovery process step by step and not overwhelming myself, because even the tiniest bit of progress is still progress. Everyone is supporting you, so don't draw back from the things you love or from the people you love. We are all there for you. Now let's do a quick quiz. Your teacher will pause the video on each slide and you can answer the questions. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned a thing or two, and if any of you are undergoing an eating disorder right now, everyone in this room supports you in your recovery. We want you to get better.